Okay, Andrew, capital program report. Come on up.
Right, good morning, everybody. The year-end report, as others have said, does seem some time ago now, but I'm pleased to open and just highlight some of the things that I've put in the report. So some of these numbers have been mentioned, but I just want to reiterate them. The total capital program at 621 million was a good achievement at 105% of the budget. And when we talk about the core capital program, excluding Te Kaha, we achieved 93% of the budget at 452 million. Now, of course, in both of those figures, there were some signs of inflationary pressure, no doubt about that, and I'll talk about that a little bit further into my report. Some of the project highlights and achievements I think are worth just pulling out, and I've got them in my cover report. You know, we've had some considerable and good progress in some of the key facilities this year. Te Kaha, Matatiki, the Performing Arts Precinct are all progressing really well on site. The completion of the Littleton Harbour wastewater scheme, stopping the discharges into the harbour there. Citizens War Memorial, also the Takura wetlands, the stormwater facility with the first portions open there for walking and cycling, and significant progress around the major cycleways program as well. Also, Naval Point, Godley Key, and the work associated with the Sail GP event. So a lot of really good work, and the teams to be commended for some of those achievements amongst the program. As we've talked about at various times throughout the year, all that's been achieved against some pretty strong headwinds, and we've talked exhaustively about cost pressures, consenting issues, global and domestic supply chain, the constrained labour market, some challenges with KiwiRail in terms of approvals and delays, and you know, the COVID-19 hopefully slipping into the background. So all in all, a good year. However, I think I do need to talk a little bit more about one of the key issues in my report, and that is the forecast from the PMO and the PMs. We talk about the two levels of forecasts. So you'll remember in May, the penultimate report to this one, we had a forecast of 405 million, and as was reasonably typical, we see that convergence of the aggregated PM's forecast and the PMO's forecast as the year unfolds. However, as kind of a highlight, we achieved 452, quite a bit more than either of those forecasts, which was presented us with a bit of a challenge to look into that a little bit more. So the June result, the June actuals were quite extraordinary and a little bit more than expected, well, a lot more than expected in terms of that, you know, the final month. Normally that final month, we kind of refer to it as a double month because you do all the accruals and get everything tidied up for the year end. It's not mathematically double. Usually it's normally a sort of 120, 130% more than a normal month. This time it was 167% more than the forecast for that month of June. So that, you know, when you look at that across the total program, 1 month had 30% of the expenditure in that final month of June. So we explored that a little bit further and looked at some of those reasons why, and some of the main exceptions there contributing to that additional spend than was expected through forecast were, I'm going to just highlight a couple of key areas. In the transport area, for example, the carriageway resales program reviewed the sort of OPEX figures and capitalised up to 5.7 million in that period, and we didn't foresee that coming through. The Coastal Pathway project, for example, had some, I guess this is sort of a bit of good news, had some accelerated progress and spent almost 2 million more than forecast. Now, that's good because it's progressing well, but in my mind, not so good because we didn't forecast it well enough. So that's a couple of ones in transport, and in the Three Waters area, a similar issue around the review of operational accounts and capital accounts. We had two areas in the Three Waters space where the wastewater treatment trickling filter fire work was capitalised to the tune of $10.8 million. That was prior to that held in the OPEX accounts. And also throughout the review of the Three Waters area, the maintenance contracts saw $2.5 million capitalised from OPEX accounts. There was also in there, and this last one's not completely unusual, a land purchase, which was a bring back, so a land purchase for a stormwater facility, the Green Stormwater Facility. So those half a dozen examples that I've given you amount to about 27 million out of that 45 million, and they were difficult to foresee in the review of the accounts and some of the accelerated work or land purchases that occurred. So that's an explanation as to the why. Notwithstanding any of that, we need to improve some systems there around our forecasting. And I've got three things just to outline to you where we're recommending the following issues be looked at more closely going forward in order to get some better predictability around that issue. So first one is all forecasts need a closer review and scrutiny to improve that accuracy, and you can expect to see a bit more focus of that in the future reports from the PMO over the next 12 months. We've got some new reporting formats coming your way, and there'll be a bit more of a focus on forecasting in itself for general project managers. We also need to be more timely, this is the second one, more timely into looking into the inputs into the operational accounts, and especially from staff and from third parties. So a good example of that is the RAM inputs that contractors put into. So we've got to get some accountability from them to bring us the data to get it into the system and link into SAP. So we need to drive that a little bit more diligently. And lastly, we're requiring a monthly review of both OPEX and CAPEX accounts to ensure we get the correct allocations, and that the budget owners and their associated finance partners take a closer look at that to get better and more timely sort of accuracy around the allocation between those accounts. So I think those three issues will give us a bit more confidence if we can carry them out throughout this year. Give us and support a better forecast position around that issue. So I'm happy to leave it there,
Right,
Mr. Chairman, and take any questions from that point.
No, that's really useful. I think that's been a really comprehensive report, Andrew, and thanks for explaining it in detail. Yeah. One thing I wouldn't mind, and I've just got Leah working on some wording, is it would be good to get a report back on those key learnings and how they've actually been implemented, because they are. Yeah. The capitalisation stuff, it won't go away, that problem, I guess. So it'd be just quite nice to see how that plays out. So we'll have some questions while Leah jacks that up for us, if there are any questions. No? Okay, perfect. Well, I'm happy to... we'll get to debate. Yeah. I'm happy to move it. Mark's happy to second it. And then in terms of debate, I think Phil wants to debate it. So.
This is a fantastic report. And it's very clear. One of the things that concerns me on page 64 under 3.6.2, how the consenting over groundwater is causing us a lot of grief, particularly in the Avon River corridor. One of the things that really upsets me is we have got a lot of projects designed, about $100 million worth of stuff, ready to build, which we can actually implement and stop dirty water going into either the Heathcote or the Avon River. But we can't because ECAN can't seem to see their way around being able to implement these stormwater basins. So I find, as I say, it's about $100 million worth of work that we've got sitting there not being able to get consent done. So it disappoints me, so I'm just putting it out there for people to hear it. Thank you.
All in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you. Thanks very much, Andrew. Cheers. Oh, yeah, sorry. Everyone got the thing. Yeah, that's it. Perfect. You read my mind. That's great. Okay. Next up, item 10, the Canterbury temporary easement, Canterbury Museum. Phil's happy to move it. Mark's happy to second it, but we'll just see if we've got any questions from anybody. No questions. Great, we'll take it as read. Any debate? All in favour? Against? That's carried. Thanks, Andrew, for that. Good report. Okay, now we'll move to exclude the public. So item 11. So I'll move that. Kelly will second it. Any discussion? All in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you. So we'll just clear the room.